See, it's my fault. It's my fault. I had a good thing going, and then I messed it up. I thought the grass would be greener on the other side. 'Twas not. 'Twas not. So I started reading Small Favors by Aaron A. Craig. This follows a young woman who lives in like a small town kind of village situation. And essentially, 5 or 6 of the townsfolk are found murdered in the woods, and it's very clear that this was not like, an attack by a human. This was something else. And leading up to these attacks, some of the townsfolk have been seeing these very, very large like wolf-like creatures with silver eyes, either slinking around at the edge of the woods or like, darting through their fields and stuff. And first of all, once again, this cover is gorgeous, but also the reason there's like honey on the words is because her family is a family of beekeepers. And so, bees, honey, buzz, buzz. Okay. I was loving this. It's so cute. It's so cozy. I've tabbed a couple of things. And basically what had happened was I had to go to a work thing today that I really didn't want to go to. So instead of going to the work thing, I was kind of like procrastinating. And so I stopped by La Biblioteca, and I need to stop going in there. Because I always get distracted. That's why I have a million things out from the library. Now I need to return like 2/3 of the shit I have out from the library now, tomorrow. But anyways, right when you walk in, they usually have a display of new releases. And I picked one up and I started reading it, and I was just so, what is the word I'm looking for? I was so caught up. I was so enraptured in what I was reading. I immediately borrowed it. This is All Fours by Miranda July, and I've been seeing this on the interwebs a lot because it is a National Book Award finalist. I went into this completely blind, and to be honest, I still haven't read the synopsis, so I don't, okay, so I am currently on page 50, and I guess what was intriguing about this in the very beginning is you are following a very clearly unhinged woman. And essentially she's going on a trip to New York from wherever the hell she lives. And it's going to take about a week for her to drive out there. And so she's leaving her husband and their young child at home while she takes this trip. So I think my issue with this book so far is I'm kind of getting whiplash. I don't really understand what it is I'm supposed to be getting out of this. And I know this is purposeful, but there will be very poignant, like impactful lines randomly thrown into the text that have nothing to do with the scene or with the dialogue or with what the character's even thinking. So this isn't like a real scene in the book, but for example, she'll be like, thinking about the food she's eating, and then it'll just be some random line about the stars and how all of our lives are so insignificant and all of our lives started 10 billion years ago, but then it'll go right back into the sandwich. Like at no point is what she's eating or the sandwich that she's eating tied into what she just, like that random sentence, if that makes sense. So essentially, we go back and forth between like these profound revelations about motherhood and her sending naked selfies to her besties. We go from, where she doesn't feel like she can completely reveal her true self to her husband, to her best friend talking about falling asleep with her fingers inside of her partner's vagina and waking up with pruny fingers. Like there's no, girl, what? It's so, I don't know. I felt felt like I was into it at first because I've been reading, a few books so far this year that follow very unhinged female characters. But I think this is on a level that might be too much for me. Like, and she's just doing things that don't. So this is also coming across kind of a stream of consciousness. She's doing things for no rhyme or reason, and I think it's supposed to come across as like quirky and different, but it's disturbing. So like I said, she's supposed to be driving from, I believe, LA to New York, and she makes it, I believe, to Utah, but she ends up driving back towards LA. She gets some shitty motel room, and now she just hired an interior designer for $8,000 to redesign the hotel room. See, I just feel like this is a brand of like weird white lady chaos that I just can't understand. I am gonna continue reading this for a little bit, but I feel bad. I feel like I cheated on small favors for something that I thought would be even more intriguing, and it's just concerning at this point. It's not even cute, fun, and quirky. It's just concerning. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, guys, I promise you, real time, from the last segment till now hasn't even been 60 seconds. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So she's basically saying how she was able to make up for the lost time of her staying in that fucking motel room or whatever. Wait, did I no. Yeah. So she's talking about how she made up for lost time because she spent a couple of days at that motel, and she's thinking back on the conversation she had with her husband, and now she's talking about, once again, as I mentioned earlier, how there's going to be the great reveal where she's going to show her true self to her husband. Then she goes, sometimes it would be painful, like if he told me about fingering his assistant.
Ma'am, this is a Wendy's.
What are you talking? It's just stuff like that that's kind of taking me out of the story, and it's making me very aware that I'm reading. If that make there it is. I am constantly reminded that I'm reading something because this does not feel like a natural mode of storytelling. I don't know. Also, her friend Jordy is either just as unhinged and ridiculous as her, or she's a terrible person and she is purposefully like plotting and supporting the main character's downfall. Because if my best friend told me that she was going to stay in a dusty ass motel to renovate the room that she's staying in instead of driving to New York, I don't think I would then recommend a fabricator that she could use in the area. I just, huh? Oh yeah, her friend is just as weird as she is. That's crazy. I mean, I guess good for them. She has a plumber replacing the shower head in the bathroom. Mind you, she is renting a room at a roadside motel. I am baffled. I only need my lesbianism held and kept, like a person who buries little bits of money all over the world. It's never on me, but it's never far. Beautiful lines. Beautiful lines like that. Amongst just chaos. So at this point, she's literally lying to almost everyone, pretending that she's still on her way to New York, even though she's basically right down the street and around the corner from her house, staying in this dusty ass motel. And she called a friend and was like, but if it ever comes up, we have lunch, okay? She needs better friends. She needs friends that'll hold her accountable, and it sounds like she needs a nap. She needs a glass of milk, and she needs a fucking nap. Okay, so our main character, I never know what any main character's name ever is. Wait, hold on. Is this one of those weird things where she doesn't have a name, and I'm just now noticing that like 57 pages in? Hold on, she definitely has a name, right? She definitely has a name. Hello? I don't know. But our main character was kind of pointing out how the interior designer she hired ignores like half the things she says. But our main character be saying but our main character be saying just the most random fucking shit. They're trying to put like the tile across the floor in the bathroom to make sure that they have enough. And they didn't. They only had they had almost just enough. Like they were 3 or 4 short. And our main character goes, if we had the exact amount, like if the pattern had been complete, doesn't it feel like something might have happened? And then, of course, the interior designer just keeps talking about the next thing and completely ignores her. And it's like, of course she's ignoring you. She's only putting up with you because you're paying her. You're being weird. Ma'am, you're being weird. I was thinking of illusions that become so complete, they actually opened up into other dimensions. Miss Miranda. Whatever the fuck you were smoking when you wrote this, keep it far away from me. Ma'am, I don't need none of that. I don't need none of that. What is happening? National Book Award finalists. Who was on the panel? Who was on the panel? Show yourselves. On that day, we walked mostly in silence. Was he bored? Had we run through all the possible topics? Would this be the last walk? He took me to a particular wooden fence and leaned into it, inhaling. I gave the fence a sniff. It smelled warm and sweet, almost alive. I fucking love it, he said. We tried to put our finger on what it was about the smell. Something to do with childhood, contentment. Oh, pussy. That's what the fence smelled like. You know, I mentioned before how I often will take the free bookmarks from the library when I go. This one says, "Let freedom read." But should we? Baby girl, what is this? I'm on page 126. What is this? I feel like I should have filled out a high-risk activity form and submitted it to my employer before reading this. Okay, I guess. Okay, the lighting is crazy, but you come here for books, not for looks. Anyways, I am almost exactly 100 pages out from the end of All Fours, and I am seriously considering DNFing it. It's doing nothing for me. In fact, it's doing the opposite for me, and the longer I read this, the more angry and upset I get. And at first, I thought I was just being a kind of superficial ass, salty ass bitch because it is was a finalist for the National Book Award. But the longer that I sit with this story and the further I get into it, this is such a great example of like white mediocrity, because the hardest hitting parts of this novel are the graphic, kind of grotesque and perverse sex scenes that have done nothing for the story. There is no conversation being had. And I just read, I believe it was almost 2 full pages about our main character meeting with this lady she's never met a day in her life, coercing her to come back to their hotel room, and they have the most uncomfortable like sexual interaction. And please understand that for half of this interaction, the main character didn't want to be there. She didn't want this to be happening. And then there's nothing said about that. None of this is being unpacked. And I'm not saying that every single sexual act in a book needs to have some big, profound, action or plot progression or character arc that follows, right? That's not what I'm saying. But with the way that this is written, it's almost as if, okay, here's the thing. My thoughts are jumbled. She is clearly a talented writer. And it feels like she had a journal full of a lot of really heavy hitting ideas, and they are very well written ideas, but she didn't have a story to put them in. And so we got this. And here's the thing, baby girl. If you're going to write a story about this, at least let it pass what is the test? The bechamel test? Ain't bechamel a type of cheese or something, child? I don't know. What is the test where like a piece of media has to have enough dialogue or content that is not centered around men for it to pass? This ain't gonna pass that. The main character, her entire character arc, her entire journey is tied up in how she feels like she's hiding her true self from her husband. And then her response to that is to emotionally and physically cheat on him with a different man. It's saying nothing. And then I think it's interesting because according to whoever the hell George Saunders is, a giddy, bold, mind-blowing tour de force. No, Mr. Georgie, He was scandalized because he had never seen the word cunt so many times on a single page. There is nothing bold about this book. This is an unhinged female main character who is throwing her sexuality in our face to make us know that she's not like other girls, but there's no conversation about anything being like that has taken place in this story. Literally nothing. And so I don't think I have an issue with this being a National Book Award finalist so much as like I'm disappointed. I think I'm just disappointed because y'all fell for it. Y'all fell for it. Y'all were scandalized with all of the crazy things that the main character is saying in here. You're even more scandalized because it's coming from the voice of a woman, like the main character being a woman. And so I guess that's like groundbreaking? Child, if you wanted something that would make your titties tingle, you could have read Ice Planet Barbarians, which is a little less on the nose than this shit, and you could have had a better time. Okay. Maybe I do need to DNF it. Maybe I do need to DNF it because if I have those kinds of feelings about a book, it's not worth it. So I think I might just continue where I picked up. I might pick up where I left off in Small Favors. Oh, real quick, hold on. Taste this drink with me, girl. This is a Jim Beam Highball Peach. Let's see. Okay. If you just called the police on me, I definitely understand. Why is that so good? Oh my god. It's so good. Okay, Jim. Okay, Jim B, what we doing, Jim? Ah! That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's yummy. Ooh. No. This? No. Hi, Mr. Gloop Gloop. Good morning, Mr. Gloop Gloop. I feel the same way. Because what the hell was this? Absolutely not. If you were recommended this book or you saw someone say that this is a book about menopause,
No.
If you're reading this book because of like the character's complicated relationship with their husband,
No.
If you're reading this because of some sort of like sexual liberation or something about a woman in her 40s, no. She has bastardized each one of those topics. She uses them as the backdrop for what I will admit are the really good one-liners relating to those topics, but nothing that I just mentioned is actually explored. Nope, no ma'am. So I figuratively and kind of literally, because it was in the bed with me, slept on it last night. And I think my issue, because I know I keep bringing up like the graphic sex scenes, I guess my issue was like, even if you were to replace the sex with anything else, I would still question it as to why that's not being unpacked, right? So, because I thought maybe I did have a hang up on the graphic and very frequent use of sex with, whoever in this book. But then I thought about it, like, if I were reading anywhere between like 1 to 4 pages about this character thinking about Cheetos, eating Cheetos, going out looking for Cheetos to buy, thinking about all the different ways they're gonna eat these Cheetos, dreaming about Cheetos, trying to look for other people to talk to about Cheetos, literally trying to have conversations with strangers, her family, like her blood relatives, about Cheetos, asking people she had like literally never had conversations with before, graphic questions about Cheetos. I would want the fucking relationship she had with Cheetos to be unpacked. You're bringing it up in conversations with complete strangers with zero context. We're going through all of these like ruminations about Cheetos just for us to never talk about why the fuck are we talking about these Cheetos? I don't know. So yeah, I don't even think it's because it's sex. It's just weird that so much of this book had so many just and that's my official review. Now, in what universe is that a good way to end a video? I'm sorry, I was just so fucking fed up with that book. Yeah, I don't know if I said it explicitly in the video, but 1 star. What? All ones is the new title of that book. I didn't like any part of it. There might be a place where we can have a more nuanced and in-depth discussion about why this book and other books like it get nominated for literary prizes and literary awards. I'm not the person to have that conversation. I'm not eloquent enough. There are some booktubers that I have discovered in the past few weeks that actually do have better criticisms of all fours than I do, and I highly recommend you checking them out. I will link them down in the description box, but I don't know, I just I do not want this book and books like it to be representative of these kinds of conversations, because we need visibility for discussions of menopause and other things that were discussed in this book. Just, girl, not like this. You played in my face with 300 pages. How dare you, ma'am. That is the end of the video. Thank you so much for your support. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. In fact, I'm about to film the next one right now.